Hey, and welcome back to Toast. I am so excited to tell you guys all about Argentina today. And starting off this week with Argentina is going to be my experience in Patagonia. Today, I'm just going to talk about how I really got to the place that I called home for a month, which was the small town of El Chalten next to the most famous mountain of Argentina, Mount Fitzroy, where everybody goes to hike in the Argentinian part of Patagonia. It is spectacular. So, without further ado, if you're going to hitchhike or if you're going to go to Argentina, you really need to know what mate is. So this is a gourd, which when you translate calabaza means pumpkin in Spanish, that they put all of this really strong caffeinated tea in, and they drink it like a religion because they pass it from person to person. They refill it with this scorching hot water that's inside this thermos, and they pass it, and when it gets back around to you, you get your shot of caffeine, which is great when you're podcasting. So I got, to Patagonia, to the tips of Patagonia, which is Bariloche. It's still in the Lakes District by a 24-hour bus, just to give you the scale of how big it is. Going from Buenos Aires, which is the capital, to what doesn't seem too far on a map, takes 24 hours of straight desert road. So it's not like mountainous or bad roads or anything. It's just really far. So once I got to Bariloche, I was really excited because it's supposed to be the Switzerland of Argentina. It's beautiful. There's skiing. I had some actual friends from Europe who were there, so it was like we were planning to have a really good time. And Argentina has all of these different pueblos or países, like towns that are colonized by different people at different times, especially after the Second World War, and Bariloche is one of them. So they have like chocolate factories left and right and craft beers, and these are things that are pretty novel in that area because they're really far from everything, and they're stuck between the mountains and the desert. But today I'm here to talk about the hitchhiking aspect, how I got to El Chalten. So from Bariloche, we had horrible weather. We were getting rain. There was all the ski hills were getting closed. My friends and I were all like deciding to go in different directions. So I said, screw it. I left really early in the morning, probably 7 a.m. By the time I was on the road on the highway. I already took a bus and everything. And I had my thumb out. And one of the things that you need to know about hitchhiking is that sometimes you're going to get picked up, the first car, and they're going to be nice and they're going to drive you exactly where you want to go. And sometimes you're just not. And today was one of those, or that day was one of those days that I just didn't get picked up, at least not immediately. So when I got out there, it was pouring rain. I'm talking about showers on showers on showers. And I was out there for like an hour. And by the time that first hour was done, my coat that I got in Bolivia a month earlier that was supposed to be waterproof suddenly wasn't so waterproof anymore because it'd been raining on me for an hour. Then I waited for a second hour, and then the third hour, finally somebody picked me up, and I was starting to lose hope. But you have to know, when you're hitchhiking, you just can't lose hope. You can't like give up on it because sometimes you do get those quick rides and sometimes you don't. Because after that, I actually did keep getting quick rides, and I was getting quick rides, and that first guy who picked me up gave me pastries, and it really, helped me hold down the fort for a while. And as you're kind of going through and hitchhiking through, it's great because they'll give you the mate, which is, great to drink and have this communal effect with whoever's picking you up. But they kind of start scaring you at some point because I was there with my camping gear, my tent, and everything, like ready that, if I didn't get picked up, I'd just pitch my tent on the side of the road somewhere, maybe a little bit further, because there's not that many cars or whatever, and cook my food with all my camping gear and just chill there and continue my hitchhiking until I got to El Chalten, which I was hoping for like a week with all scenic and hiking detours and whatever. But I'll get to that when we talk about Chile and why I spent an extra, 2 weeks or something there. But I was hitchhiking down and they start telling you that there are pumas, in Patagonia. So I'm not talking about the Pumas, those like cool running shoes that we used to have back in 1998 that you really wanted to get. No, I'm talking about the animals that really want to get you. So very dangerous, very scary, and they really psych you out of the idea of like, I'm just going to cook some food and call it a night once the sun goes down or once the sun starts to go down, so that you have time to set up the tent. But, nonetheless, I pushed through and I kept hitchhiking and I kept, getting my thumb out, and people were picking me up, picking me up. And sometimes you get left in the middle of nowhere, and sometimes you get left in a cool town where you can grab something to eat. At some point, it was getting like pretty bad. Like we had gone up, into the mountains a little bit, and the weather was like getting a little bit more overcast. And I thought the rain was going to start again. And instead of rain, it was snow. And at that moment, I was like, okay, well, this is going to be really bad because I'm not sure like how good my tent's quality is in this kind of condition and everything. And I was getting a little bit worried, but lo and behold, somebody pulls over and they pick me up, and they weren't just like an average person. These guys built their own camper van, and everybody has that van life going on, but these guys built van lives for other people. Okay. Their name was like One Van, One Life, something like that on Instagram. They literally build vans for other people for a living, and this was theirs. So this was like the masterpiece of masterpieces. They made, a 50,000 kilometer trip all the way from Patagonia to Canada the next year. So they picked me up and like they saved my life and drove through the snowstorm, and they had like all of the gear, and it was just so good. And they even offered to take me with them, but they were going to another place to see some of the seasonal orca whales and things that come to a certain area of Argentina, Patagonia, that, where they give birth and where you can actually see them and interact with them, maybe even see them kill some seals or catch some animals, whatever it is, because that's where it happens. That's one of those bays for it. I decided I wasn't going to go with them, and I continued and I pushed through. And on my way to El Chalten, which was really cool because I was talking about it, I found a small town at some point, and I was going through and I was hitchhiking, and I decided to get off because this small town, I swear to God, it looked like Hobbiton, like Lord of the Rings, where Frodo and Bilbo and Sam and Pepper, all of them are from. And I was there like, oh my God, this looks like the movie set. But actually, it was just a Welsh town, by Welsh people who had gone there years before. And it was just really cool to be able to really see that small part of Argentina and many other towns in Argentina, which I'll get to when we get back to Argentina in a few weeks from now, when obviously I come back. The thing is, it's like you really need to enjoy these tiny little doors, and they're all circular, and the windows are circular, and they're made with stones and everything, and it was great. And anyways, eventually I got to El Chalten, and El Chalten it's a great thing because you've been driving in desert for so long, and on the way you're just in this flatland, and it's kind of like if you're in Western Canada, you're in Alberta, and you're getting to the Rockies, where you're still an hour away, but you can see the mountains, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger as you get closer and closer, and they seem like they're so close, and yet it still takes you an hour to get to them. And it was great because seeing Fitzroy, the most like famous mountain, just advancing and advancing and advancing from the distance, got some serious photos that's probably going to be in that post that I'm posting on Instagram to build awareness for this episode. But really, the best part of this hitchhiking ride was the second last ride that I had, okay? Because what happened is I had to make a choice whether I was going to go the longer way that stayed on a highway or if I was going to go for a shortcut. And I ended up staying on the longer way because that's where my Lyft was bringing me. So, it was a little bit longer, but the highway maybe I thought was going to give me more options. But what happened is on that highway that night that I was like looking to get through and maybe catch like a night ride and get to El Chalten in the morning, it had so much rain and snow and that pass, one of the overpasses that they needed, that it was all mudded out, and they closed the entire road. So no cars were going that way. So I had to think basically backtracking all the 6 hours or so of road time back to where I was and go an alternate route, not the shortcut or any of the ways that were all blocked. Luckily, I found somebody in the morning, but not without spending the entire night at a gas station, just hanging out with the guy who puts gas in it, and we were drinking mate, and we Skyped his wife, and we chilled, and we talked about life and all of these beautiful things, and I just stayed at the gas station, spoke to every single person who was coming in and out, seeing if they were going in one of the directions, if they had a big truck, if they were going to try and cross the mud, or if they were just going to drive around, or, and essentially, I was really lucky that in the morning, I found somebody who I'm still in touch with, actually, to this day, who just picked me up, and she was going pretty much where I was going. Not exactly, but very close. And so we stuck together for 9 hours. I found a 9-hour lift just by staying, and being hopeful. And we drank like multiple cups of mate. So you need to know how to, prepare this if you're going there, because they're going to expect it. If they're driving, you have to be the person who's pouring and serving the mate for both you and the driver, of course. So you get to win, or you get the benefit. Essentially, from that ride, we got off at a gas station. I got another ride direct to Chalten, no worries. And it's great because there's so many people and of European descent there that you always have some sort of ancestry in common. If you're a North American, like I'm Italian, so many Italians, and if you have German or Irish, like everybody kind of ended up, or their grandparents kind of ended up in Argentina. So they're happy to talk to you and they're happy to relax. And getting to El Chalten was just such a great goal because that's where I ended up volunteering for a month and hiking all of the trails, as well as many trails that are not on any maps. So I'm going to talk about my favorite trail that I did at El Chalten. It was a 4-day hike. That's going to be my next episode. And no, I did not find any pumas while I was hitchhiking. I didn't need to camp anywhere that I didn't want to. And I generally had like a very nice stay and hotel, like everywhere that I was going without any problems. And, I really suggest that you guys try to break that comfort zone and try something that you haven't done before. But if you don't want to, you don't need to. But go to Argentina. And stay tuned because the next episode is going to be fucking awesome. It's the best hike of my life. Toast out.